Hey, yo, welcome back to the Boston Sports Brothers podcast, episode 25. And we're joined by a very special guest. It's Mike Reilly, maybe better known as Sarge, who has been across your radio airwaves for many years in Boston, is now across the PA sound system at Gillette Stadium. So, really excited to have Sarge. He's repping Kowloon, tribute to the Wong fathers we were just talking about. And if you haven't been to the Loon, you got to get there. But, Sarge, what's going on, fellas? Great to see you as well.
Hey, I'm doing great, and you know what? I'm ready for some saga swings now after that promo. That is awesome. Let's go. How
Excellent,
you how
fellas.
you guys doing?
Doing well,
Hey,
man.
doing
Doing
great.
great.
Thanks
Thank you for
thanks.
joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me. Pumped.
Awesome. We got a lot to dive into. Obviously, a huge day yesterday setting up Super Bowl 59, where there will be a rematch of Super Bowl 57, where the Chiefs and Eagles are right back where they were 2 years ago. Chiefs, obviously going for history, to be quite honest, and the Eagles trying to derail that history. Fellas, let's dive into it. Obviously, tons it takes, tons to get into from both games. So let's start with the earlier game, Washington and Philly. Takeaways from that game. Sarge, feel free to kick us off, and then we'll go around the horn and everyone gives their takes.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Saquon Barkley, my gosh, what a day for him.
Mhm.
Absolutely dominant start to finish. And sorry in advance to any New York Giants fan out there. My God, tough night for you seeing that happen. It's almost like, in a way, that first year after Brady left the Patriots to see him go win the Super Bowl with Tampa in a way. But, Barkley's been with Philly for a little bit, but still, oh man, he was just unbelievable start to finish. And if I'm a Lions fan, I feel even worse about that loss last week to Washington because, man, not only was that the worst loss in franchise history, Detroit being the number one seed, but then to see Washington, they had a good opening drive, but they just were not a team ready to go up against a big giant like Philadelphia, a well-established team. I'm going to be in the minority on this one. I really, Dan Quinn, I'm not a fan. The backwards hat drives me nuts. I hate it. And he goes for always on the fourth down, always he's gambling all the time. Slow it down a little bit. So that just bothered me a little bit with him. But you know what? Good for Philadelphia. There's a reason why they're in the Super Bowl. They played like a NFC champion, and they proved why they are the best team in the conference all over their division rival yesterday.
And Mike, Saquon didn't even wait, to warm up. It was first play of the game of their offensive series. He rips off a 60-yard TD run. He's bouncing off people left and right. I mean, like you said, the Giants fans must just be miserable watching that. But I had my attention mostly on this game. I was in the original thoughts of like, Washington didn't really. I mean, they earned being there, but you just knew Philadelphia was going to run away with that one. The real excitement was the next game with the Chiefs and Bills.
Yeah,
But we'll touch on that in a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah,
A
I
lot of
think when it
fun.
comes to Washington, like just self-inflicted wounds, like they were in that game in the first half. And, I think going into halftime, it was 27-15. So yeah, there definitely was a divide, but there were three fumbles that happened in the first half. If they don't make those mistakes, this is a tight game. So they totally let this thing slip away in the second half. And, I think that's the mark of not necessarily a young team, but a team that's in transition. They weren't supposed to get this far in year one with a rookie quarterback, which I think for all of us as Pats fans, we should look at them as a little bit of like the model of what we should strive to see next year. If we're, even on the doorstep of the playoffs, I think we'll all be really happy. But, Philly just had too much. Saquon is got to be the addition of the offseason, if going back to March last year. The dude is just unbelievable. And you couple him and Jalen Hurts, who's also a dual threat. How can you defend that? It's difficult. And I think that, whoever's going out of the AFC, which we'll talk about here in a second, is going to have a difficult time trying to contain them.
Yeah, and everyone made great points, and I think one of the funniest part about yesterday's game was the first drive that you mentioned, Sarge, for the Commanders. They went down the field. I think it was like a 19-play drive, 18-play drive, 7 minutes off the clock. They only got three. And then the very next
Yeah.
play, Saquon goes for six, in like what, 20 seconds? It was just
It's
unbelievable.
demoralizing.
It was
Yeah.
completely demoralizing. And he had two touchdowns, I think, within the first few minutes of the game, honestly. And It was just that's really tough to come back to, especially against a great team like Philly. And I want to give some love to the line, the O line for Philly. I don't think they get enough love. I know all the tush push, that stuff, but they're the ones creating the holes for Saquon so he can get those lanes and create for him. So they need to get some more love, and that's what I think teams should model their offensive lines after is the Eagles, what the Eagles have.
Yeah, you could kind of see it. I mean, it was the tale of two teams, one that had sort of been there before, and another that, was sort of on this Cinderella run into the NFC Championship game, and the luck sort of runs out for them at a certain point. The team with the more experience, the team that had the better roster, the better players, and probably the better coaching as well. Sort of, just put that beat down on in the second
Can,
half.
can I
Go
touch
ahead,
on
J Man.
one thing about the coaching here, which just really grinds my gears about all the games that the two games we saw last week yesterday, where take the points. Like stop going for
Yep.
two when there's you have no business going for two. I was saying we have a bit of a group chat that we have, and I was saying somewhere Bill is laughing his ass off in Chapel Hill because he knows to take the points, and you go for it for two when you really have to, and you take what's given to you, and don't get stupid. And I think these teams got a little stupid yesterday, and it really hurt the Bills, and when it came down to it.
Especially on the road. That's NFL 101. Road team, take the points.
Yes.
Always. Hit the nail on the head, Josh. Belichick, no doubt, laughing his tail off. And listen, I know you're going to transition into Buffalo in just a moment, but I'll say this. If I'm a Bills fan, I'm even more furious today that they didn't fire McDermott last year to go after Belichick. So I'm even more furious after the way that played out on Sunday night.
Yeah, but I mean, we might as well get into it. It was certainly more the game of the day, and a rematch that everybody was looking forward to. The line is open, if you will, in terms of any takeaways from this game. I think there's a lot to dive into in what was now Josh Allen losing for the fourth time against
Oof.
Mahomes. Just can't get over the Kansas City Hill. Let's dive into it. In terms of things, my takeaways quickly from this game were Mahomes is just inevitable. And I know that everyone from around here doesn't want him to catch up to Brady. I've gotten to the point with him where I'm just like, this is what other people were witnessing as a fan of Brady when we were going through it. And I'm kind of
Mhm.
just in awe of it. Like,
Yep.
it's unbelievable to have a guy this quickly after Brady, and it's a different skill set. Brady's a 6'6" guy standing in the pocket, making all the throws. Not, he danced around beautifully in the pocket, but he's running like the Clydesdale otherwise. Uh, you got Mahomes who just can make any throw at any angle, and it's just unbelievably impressive. Doesn't matter who else is on the roster. He's got Kelsey that's been there forever, and Chris Jones defensively, but just an awesome game. Big E, J Mac, Gabe, what are your thoughts? And Sarge, you can wrap us up here on the Bills and Chiefs with whatever we might not get to.
Well, I'm glad you said you said the word respect. Like it sounds like you respect Patrick Mahomes and you respect maybe the Kansas City what may be a dynasty very soon. I think, in Boston you hear a lot of shit talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and nobody gives them their flowers, like they just refuse to accept that Patrick Mahomes is kind of coming up to be that next Brady-esque player. So I appreciate you for using the word respect and not just like shitting on the referees or shitting on all the like inevitables in a football game that go against the Chiefs. I think they earn their flowers and they're about they're about to potentially get their third Super Bowl in a row. That's fucking crazy.
Well, can I flip it on the game a little bit, talk a little bit about the game?
Sure.
Because I thought it
Yeah.
was it was a great game, right? Like
Yeah.
I think the NFL probably could not have walked away more thrilled with how tight and how close that game was from start to finish yesterday. Obviously it didn't come down the way that we all may have wanted it, and I think that's, alluding to what you were talking about, Gabe, not us giving respect to Mahomes. And the Chiefs, I'd actually flip that on its head. Like back in the day, we all used to hate Peyton Manning. If you ask me today, like I have mad respect for Peyton Manning, and I had respect for him then. I just chose to not like the guy at the time, and that's similar how I feel about Patrick Mahomes. But Josh Allen balled out. I think just like Patrick Mahomes did, he he does a lot, and I think sometimes it's not necessarily on him why the Bills aren't ready to take that next level. Just such a credit to the Chiefs. They turn over player after player. Guys who are perennial All Pros, Tyreek Hill, L'Jarius Sneed, happens on both sides of the ball, and they still just are inevitable. I really don't know what else to say. I do think that they are going to have a tough matchup in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia
Hmm.
is a much different team when they played them 2 years ago. So we will see what happens. And I know that they just got installed as a 1.5 favorite against the Eagles, but I think there will be a lot of things that will change. And I'm very excited about the game, despite who the opponents are. I think this is going to be a Super Bowl for the ages. So disappointed with the outcomes of the games yesterday, but excited to see what we have for the Super Bowl ahead.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great matchup, and I do think it's going to be a really tough matchup for the Chiefs. I think that Philly, they deal with the running quarterback with Jaden Daniels. They can, it's not all about that, and they have the swag. They have a different level of like, and you can see it. I mean, I watched the game we watch it with our eyes. We're not these analytical people. We said take the point, so clearly we're not these nerds. But you can see it with your eyes that Philly's got something. They really do, and I just. I think it might be their year. I don't want the Chiefs to win. I really don't. I think it's going to eventually get up to the Patriots legacy of and could surpass them and I don't want that, but I'm kind of rooting for Philly. I think it's their year. I do.
Interesting. Okay. Have you guys ever been to Philadelphia?
Yes.
Gabe
Yes.
lived in
Yes.
Philly
Gabe was
for
living there.
three,
Oh,
four
okay.
years.
I
So you
lived
know,
there when the Patriots lost to the Philadelphia
oh
Oh
Eagles.
goodness.
Uh,
God.
Oh.
well, the Eagles are my second team. My family is from Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like it was pretty bad. I mean, I'm a
Yeah,
diehard Patriots fan, but I went
right.
out on the streets, Broad
Oh,
Street. Oh my God, those fans are insane.
yeah,
Like,
they're very passionate. We know that. Very tough. Probably the toughest fans with attitude. And I know, like you guys, I heard you talking about the Patriots and or Mahomes rather, and him being the maybe better than Brady. The Patriots fans not giving him his due. But I think Philadelphia really has to have a chip on their shoulder. One for losing 2 years ago, and now essentially not getting that respect, if you will, where it were teams before, like I mean, it kills me to say it, like the Giants in Super Bowl 42 when they had no respect against the undefeated Patriots. Even for that matter, Super Bowl 46 when the Patriots lost again to the Giants because of Brady trying to get that fourth ring and so forth. But I think just to start with, Buffalo, Josh Allen is awesome. He is a really great quarterback and maybe one of the best of our generation. But for Buffalo, I hate to say it. I think that window was closing real fast, and they had Kansas City on the ropes. You really did, and not able. And you know what? Say what you want about the first down call, which it should have been a first down for Josh Allen. I think the whole country knows that. But I don't think officiating caused the game in
Hmm.
favor of Kansas City. I mean, there were a couple things here and there, but I really think it came down to the coaching. The 2 points, that was a huge thing. McDermott, he could have challenged that as well, the other play right there, the potential first down. I just don't think he's a good coach. He's a detriment to the team. Never have liked the guy since he started, and that's a problem for the team. So Buffalo's got to figure something out fast if they want to win with that window closing. But as far as Kansas City for dynasty, I heard you guys talk about that with Mahomes not getting his due around here. I think it's great for football. I think it's great for football, whether you like it or not. Yeah, sure. Tom Brady, he is the GOAT. And but you know what? Babe Ruth said it. Records are meant to be broken. And essentially, it's good to try to reach to be that next best one there. So I have no problem with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs winning against Philadelphia. I have more of a problem with the Philadelphia fans. That's why I asked you guys if you've been to Philly. They're tough, but it's a great fan base, and I'm with you guys. I think it's going to be a great game, a heavyweight bout. So I'm looking forward to Super Bowl Sunday, like everyone else should be. But it's definitely not what the country wanted. They definitely wanted Buffalo and Detroit. That's for sure.
Who do you think's going to take it, Sarge? What's your prediction?
I'm telling you, it's really hard to bet against Kansas City. It's like impossible. I had Buffalo winning by like 2 points last night. Didn't happen. I'm going to say Philly by a field goal. Give me Philly by a field goal. I think they're a well balanced team.
And Sarge, you touched on it. I think what gives them that one level up on KC is that revenge factor.
Yep.
You just mentioned it. They lost a couple of years ago to Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Now they have a chance to kind of get their revenge, and that could play huge in the locker room for those guys.
The pressure is on Kansas City. The pressure
Absolutely.
is on them for that three-peat.
Yep.
I mean, the
So
defensive talent alone that they've added in the last 2 years, that is not the same defense that Kansas City went up against 2 years ago.
no,
No.
Jalen Carter, that dude is just a beast.
amazing. Yep. Philly is a very well balanced team, and yeah, it's a total night and day situation. So I'm going to say Philly by a field goal. Give me the underdog.
It should be a great game. A few final takeaways in terms of just the weekend that was and what yesterday was. A lot of people have talked about Xavier Worthy and that whole situation, how Buffalo could have had him and they traded that pick. So interesting nugget there. Uh, you got to feel bad for some of the tight ends with Mark Andrews last week and
Oh,
then Kincaid this week, where if he catches that ball, looked like Shakir was open. So as Sarge said, like Josh Allen is a phenomenal talent, and he's what I think a lot of people have said we want Drake May to hopefully turn into,
yeah. So
with
excited
that
about
kind
Drake
of
May.
skill set, but. As I said at the top, like Mahomes is just inevitable and they haven't been able to get over it. The coaching, something has to give with their coaching because every single one of these games gets into a late game scenario that Buffalo just mismanages or doesn't have the play calling ready to go. Like where was James Cook? Doesn't have a touch in the last 9 minutes of the game.
Right.
Just unbelievably like things that, not the challenge. It was just so many things that you say and they're like, why, how, and he's going to be back there again, and it's probably all going to unfold again next year. In terms of things for the game, I think the most interesting thing is the Chiefs have been there and the Patriots were there, but the Eagles have had a phenomenal run, really,
Yeah.
since that Super Bowl against the Patriots that they won. They got back to the Super Bowl. They're a perennial team that's in the playoffs every year, and now they're going back to their third Super Bowl and here in 7, 8 years. So that's a pretty impressive side of the ball that doesn't get talked about as well when it comes to the Eagles. So
Yeah.
fascinating matchup. We'll really dive into it and break it down next week and go into the full pregame mode. Any final takeaways on the weekend that was for football?
I mean, like you said it, Josh, I think Philadelphia, that is a very underrated stat. Three Super Bowls in 7 years. It's so hard to make it, just to make it to the Super Bowl. Very, very difficult. And they've been right there at the top of the NFL. Teams in the NFC that you don't want to play late in the playoffs and consistently there. And to be able to get back like that is really good. One other thing, too, I mean, Jaden Daniels, a rookie, the way he played, he was one pick ahead of Drake May. I know a lot of people were talking about Drake May this weekend with Jaden Daniels and comparing him, and some people were saying I like Daniels better, and I think he's not Drake May won't be as good as that. We don't know yet because Daniels at least had some weapons around him. He had an offensive line around him. Drake May didn't really have that his rookie year, but what he did his rookie year, he was able to overcome a lot of that adversity and prove that you could build the team around him. So for what we saw for Jaden Daniels to get to the NFC Championship as a rookie, I think the ceiling is very high now for Drake May for what he can do with the Patriots. We got a new coaching staff. It's a
Mhm.
huge offseason. I know we're not talking super Patriots here, but that was a big takeaway from what I saw with Jaden Daniels and what we are going to see with Drake May. I'm still holding to my prediction that Drake May will win 2 Super Bowls for the Patriots.
Wow, we can only hope.
Yep.
I
And
love
I'm
that
not saying it's going to
bold
happen next year.
prediction. I love
Yeah,
it.
I'm not saying it's going to happen right away next year, but it's going to happen probably within the next 5 to 6 years.
Wow.
I mean,
I'm
we
with it.
Oh,
Yeah, I would be very much a fan of that.
Jump on now, boys. Jump on now. This
We
room. We'll
we
take
can
it.
touch we can touch on this quickly before we get into our questions for Sarge. But I think the biggest thing that happened in Patriots land is the hiring of coordinators. McDaniels is back for a third stint, and then we got Terrell Williams coming over from the Lions, was with Vrabel in Tennessee on the defensive side, and really the entire those two are the big hires, but this entire coaching staff has really rounded into form over the past week, 10 days or so. McDaniels was hired shortly after we recorded last week. So any quick takeaways on the hiring of the coordinators? I'm just happy to see that they're investing in the coaching staff from a financial standpoint, and I'm hoping that this means that the roster is soon to come in free agents as well.
it's great to have coaches that have been around the game before that are not first time coaches, and that have some competency. And I think it's all going to be great. I don't know if we'll see an immediate turnaround next year. I'm hoping for, just competent football and not making these stupid mistakes and playing not getting flagged on half the plays that we're playing here. So I like it. I think it's great. I like McDaniels. I think people are hesitant on him, but he knows how to work with a quarterback. He clearly worked with Mac Jones and did really well with Mac Jones his rookie year. So I think the ceiling, like you said, Mike, is really high for Drake May, and he's got a great coordinator now to work with.
He does, and also, yeah, you can people can say what they want about Josh McDaniels all you want. Josh McDaniels kind of strikes me as a lifetime coordinator, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that because he had a good Mac Jones rookie year under Josh McDaniels, and it started to fall after that. He left. Even the Cam Newton year, Cam Newton wasn't that bad. Just right after he got COVID, he just kind of fell.
Couldn't
But
throw the ball.
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
yeah. But at least the offense was a little exciting under McDaniels. He's got the rings, he's got the experience. I have no problem with the hire. There was another big one today, Doug Marrone,
Yep.
offensive
Yeah.
line coach. That's almost, I mean, listen, I'm not saying Dante Scarnecchia is the cream of the crop, but that's like right up there with one of the, that's amazing. And then Thomas Brown, the former Bears interim head coach, he's going to be an assistant. So this is a good coaching staff that Vrabel has put around him.
Yeah, I think like if the players were to remain the same, and we know that there's going to be a lot of things that will change, draft, free agency, all that stuff, this team would automatically be better with the coaching staff that they have. Some of these things that they were getting called for, consistently last year, those will be coached out with an experienced coaching staff that we now have. So I think the thing that's exciting is there's hopefully a lot of cash to burn this offseason. There is some great players that we can pick up in the draft, and I think there's a lot of players that can come in and change this team's trajectory from where we were to where we can go. So exciting times ahead.
Gabe, are you excited for the coaches? What do you think?
I'm definitely excited for the coaches. I mean, like you said, they need to invest in the coaches, the coaching staff, which Kraft has not done in a long time. He tends to take people that are already on contract, getting paid by other teams. So they're finally investing in the coaching staff. I think we'll see that trickle down to the players now. I think the development will be better with draft picks and second year players, and I'm hopeful. I think Vrabel's doing a great job so far.
I don't know if you can say that Kraft hasn't been investing in coaching, because wasn't Bill Belichick making
Oh, yeah.
quite a pretty penny for a long
But
time? So
yeah.
I don't think that's a fair assertion.
It's a
No, I agree.
singular coach.
But there was
No.
some talk that it was like Bill would have the allotment of the potential salary, and he would get to say and do what he would with all the power. But that's clearly gone now, and I like that we have checks and balances now. So I think the Crafts are putting the team in the right direction with those checks and balances. And Vrabel's is doing a great job with putting a great coaching staff around him. So the future is bright.
The right
Stop,
steps.
stop.
Go
Oh,
ahead,
sorry.
Sarge.
No, just stop listening to the 2 to 6 show, okay? It happens, okay? Yeah.
The,
I hear the negativity. I know you're listening to.
this is a fair and balanced program here with the pros.
I'm kidding.
Uh,
I can say that about Tony and Mike.
There's definitely the seesaw. Hey, there are some episodes where we're full on board as fans. There are other episodes where there's steam coming out of our ears.
Oh, you should have heard us after
I
the
get it.
Cincinnati game.
Just-
we
just-
were all ready.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati game.
The-
Yeah,
after
week
game.
one. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had on Jerry Thornton who
Really?
was glowing and just was super excited, and then that was probably the highlight of the entire season for us. But
Oh.
we're on to greener pastures. We're on to what's going to be an amazing Super Bowl matchup to wrap up this year, and then as we know, football doesn't end. It really just picks right back up into the off season, and things will start to happen really quickly. So coaching staffs around the league, we don't have to go through that. But let's get into our questions for Sarge and talking a little bit about his career background and different things that he has going on. So I think let's start there, Sarge. Like you've
Sure.
done a ton over the course of your sports media career. As we said, folks familiar with you on the airwaves, on the radio, and now you're on the PA system at Gillette for lots of different games. So talk to us just about what that journey's looked like. Where did it all start? What have been the stops along the way? And as much or as little as you may want to divulge.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you a Reader's Digest. So I was fortunate enough. I've been fortunate enough to stay here in the Boston market my whole career, which is not always an easy thing to do. And I graduated from college, which just actually closed a couple of years ago. They're kind of the victim of the small school closures. Actually, in Brookline, Newbury College. Graduated there in 2006, and out of there, I was even while I was there, I had interned at WEEI. Now, this is before 98.5 The Sports Hub came in 2009. This was the only radio station in Boston. So interned on the weekends with Wallach and Dickerson. And
Oh boy.
Love
yeah,
that.
and the producer, James Stewart. So
What a crew.
What a
yeah,
crew.
right. So Jay Stu and I became friends pretty much since we've been friends about since 2002. We've known acquaintances and so forth. And yeah, so Newberry, and out of there, I I had two jobs. I was working at New England Cable News, NECN, and I was in the sports department, freelance, like producing and editing and so forth. Mike Giardi worked there at the time, actually. Giardi was a sports anchor. Chris Collins was also there. And I wanted to get back in to keep my hand in the radio side of things. So I'm like, damn, I just got to get like an entry job with something. So I looked at a job at WEEI, and it was called the Water Boys, where essentially it's the promotional team where you're on. It's called the street team, and you're on the streets. So their big sponsor is the Red Sox. We're at Fenway like every home game, handing out those K cards. You know those.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was just so much fun. Did the Jimmy Fun Radio Telethon. I'm hosting events in bars for Bud Light, Coors Light, all of those things. So much. I'll never forget. I had just graduated college, and they're like, "Hey, we just want to tell you that." Now this is back in 2006. So like, we just want to tell you that the it's $8.40 an hour. And I'm like, I'm in. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. And I'm like, wow, you're like the first person that was like excited about that. I'm like, just get it on the resume. I don't care, you know? So boom, to have EI and NECN on the resume, I did that for a good 2 to 3 years. It was like a double. 2009, Sports Hub comes in. Okay. I was making my radio demo and sent an email right away to Mike Thomas, who was in charge at the Sports Hub. Didn't hear back. Talked to a lot of people I know. Actually, one of my former professors worked at WBZ Radio, which was the sister station for the Sports Hub. He gave me a ton of contacts, who to call, who to connect with. Didn't hear anything. So I'm like, damn. So, it's just really hard to break in. So I finally got through to this company called Metro Traffic. And Metro Traffic they were the outsource for the WEEI Sports Flash, on the air. They also provide the traffic reports for WBZ Radio. Pretty much every traffic report you see on Boston TV or radio is through Metro Traffic now. They have an account there. The boss at Metro Traffic, Marshall Hook. You guys know Marshall Hook, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he was my boss. He gave me a demo and he got it. He said, okay, this sounds good. And I want to send it over to Jason Wolf, who was the former program director at WEI. He approved it. He goes, yep, we'll put them on the weekends. And I did sports flashes on WEI for about 5 years, 2009 to 2014. This was as the Sports Hub started.
Yep.
And then that opened the door, not just sports, but I was also doing traffic reports. I was doing traffic reports on TV for NECN, traffic on the radio for WRKO. And I'm like, this is really cool. So you had to be adverse. Remember that. Be adverse, guys. It really have that open mind to things. So that all came about. Now, in 2014, WEI cut the sports flashes. They cut them. So I was still working under Metro, but I was not doing sports anymore. I was just doing traffic and some news and all that. I finally broke through the barriers, and I got Mike Thomas 5 years later to reply back to an email to me on the Sports Hub. And he said, could you come in this week to meet with me and Rick Radzik, who is now the program director at the Sports Hub? Done. What time? Showed up, and he goes, would like to start you on the air. Started doing some part-time work at 98.5 let me see here, the spring of 2014. And that opened the door because we were sister stations with WBZ Radio, WBZ 1030 AM. And that opened the door for me to do sports reporting and anchoring at WBZ because we're sister stations. I started on WBZ in, oh my God, 10 years ago this month, because I'll never forget, it was right at the start of Deflategate. So January 2015. I know, it's crazy. Peter Casey, who was the program director there, I was on the air there, and I had a steady shift with them and also doing the Sports Hub. And it was actually, it was kind of cool in a way because they were like, all right, listen, we need Mike on this shift. We need Mike on this one. You can't have him. So I'm like, all right, guys, I'll work what I can. So, and thankfully both stations right down the street. So that opened the door for a lot of things to do, BZ and the Sports Hub. I had a major decision to make in the fall of 2017. It was really, really difficult because we were owned by CBS Radio.
Mm-hmm.
CBS Radio sold out of radio. And
Was that the Beasley move?
exactly.
Yeah.
So the Sports Hub, yeah, they were traded to Beasley. It was a total mess. If you look at the whole picture of it, Beasley had Magic 106.7. They trade that over to for the Sports Hub in cash. WBZ goes to iHeart. And Peter Casey, my boss at the time at WBZ, he was like, "Hey, Mike, I just talked to Mike Thomas. I'd really like for you to come with us to iHeart." And I had a long conversation with both Mike Thomas and Rick Radzik at 98.5, and they're like, "Listen, you're not full time. This is what we can give you, but you're not full time." And I'm like, "All right." I really believe that everything happens for a reason. I really do. I stayed on with 98.5. I decided to stay with them. I looked at the whole picture where FM signal, sports, where what I want to do. BZ, I could see them maybe throw me on news, and I didn't really want to do news. News. Listen, I respect people that talk news and everything, but I'm sorry. I like to live in a toy box. Okay. I like pro wrestling too, right? Okay. I want to be happy. I don't want to read depressing stuff all the time. I can't do that. Like, there are times I have a down day and I don't want to deal with that. I stayed with the Sports Hub. And about a week or two after that move, Peter Casey was let go by WBZ.
Wow.
Yeah, just top of the line budget cuts and all that. And then a lot of people that I worked with were cut. So I'm like, I probably would have fallen victim to that, no doubt about it. Stayed on with the Sports Hub from 2017 and left there in the fall of 2023. So I'm no longer with 98.5. I'll go on occasionally. So it's kind of cool to be in that sense there to do all that. But this is where I'll tie in the craft stuff. I'm sorry, I'm going off the rails there a little
Oh,
bit.
good.
So in 2018, I filled in for a Revolution game, and they needed a public address announcer filled in there, and that went really well. And that fall, I got a call from the Patriots. Excuse me, the fall of 2019. Let me rephrase that. The fall of 2019, I got a call from the Patriots saying, "Hey, could you fill in doing public address announcing for this Sunday's game against the Cleveland Browns?" I said, "Sure. What time you want me there?" I said, "Well, it's a 4 o'clock game. If you can be there by 1 o'clock, that'd be great." So they sent me a parking pass, did the whole thing. Pats won the game. Long story short, the gentleman who I was filling in for passed away 3 weeks later.
Oh wow, that's sad.
Oh my God.
Right place, right time, essentially. Um, Really sad, but that's how everything transpired there with the Patriots and the Revolution. And I got the Revolution job in 2019 right there. So played out the last few games of Tom Brady's Patriots career, which is
It's
really cool.
incredible.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. A year later, even actually, gosh, 3 months after Brady's last game, COVID hits. March of 2020. I'll never forget. I'll never forget. I'm wrapping it up in like 30 seconds, I promise. But, I'll never forget. It was March 7th, 2020, first Revolution game. They give us like this riot act, like, please read all this. Wash your hands, stay home if you don't feel good. And I'm like, what are we doing? Sure as hell enough, the world shuts down 4 days later. And one of the most bizarre things, calling games without a crowd that year. But I've been fortunate enough, blessed enough to be with the craft group, not just with the teams on game day, but also doing Patriots Foundation, Revolution Foundation, charitable events for the team, representing them, both teams, for the last 6 years. And it's really a dream come true. Public address announcing is something I've done for 25 years since high school. So this has been a dream come true to be where I'm at today as a game day voice at Gillette Stadium.
Well, we
I,
do have one of us among us who is foraying into the field a little bit. So I'll
Yeah,
hand it over
okay.
to Plotty here to talk a little bit about what he's been doing.
Sure.
I mean, incredible background story, and you really did like go through there so many names in terms of people who have been involved with Boston sports media for 20 plus years there. We love that kind of story and the insight you just provided. All I could think of though is when you said you were doing traffic is did you ever get up in the chopper and Sarge in the chopper? You know?
Yeah, seriously.
Well,
Sick.
what's funny is before I got the Sarge nickname, I was just Mike Reilly. Tony Maz gave me that nickname, and that was in the spring of 2014. So that was pre-Sarge, if you will. Traffic I was straight up Mike Reilly, but I never got in the helicopter, and I still wish to this day I did. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
A fun fact for you. Fun fact about the helicopter too. It's in Beverly, Mass. So it's at the Beverly Airport, and it's like kind of a pain in the neck to get up there to fight traffic in the morning and the afternoon. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I had that was going through my head when you said that. No,
No, of
Biggie,
course.
as Sarge also said, sort of being open to different opportunities, and I think I've had the good fortune of broadcasting some basketball and soccer games at MIT.
Nice.
Where else? Bentley and Boston University. So
What do you do
uh,
for BU and Bentley? What sports?
let's see. I've done lacrosse at Bentley,
Yep.
and I did a lot of soccer games this fall at BU. So it's a great
Awesome.
time getting
We'll
to
have to
do it.
talk off the air about some people I know too.
Yeah, great people, great sort of thing, and just like
Yep.
for me, it's a fun sort of side thing to get to do,
You get the pipes, man.
and enjoy it. I appreciate it. We got some other questions for you. So,
Fire
Gabe,
away, go ahead.
why don't you take it away with our next one?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're talking to some URI folk here. Josh Plotkin and I we went to URI together. We wish you were the voice of the Ryan
Oh man,
Well,
Center.
So
that gentleman.
I gotta pause you for just a second. That's one thing I did not throw in. I'm currently the voice at Schneider Arena for Providence men's hockey, so I have to give my Friars some loving too. Okay, sorry,
Yeah,
the Friars. I'm not a Friar graduate, but you know what I mean. The Friars, but
that's right.
Ryan Arena. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
Well, no, that we were getting there. They do have a far superior hockey team than URI, but
Does
is
URI
there?
have hockky?
I think are they club still?
Yeah, club hockey
Okay,
still.
okay, yeah.
They're like cream of the crop club team.
So good.
You're right.
Jump into
Club
hockey East. Let's go. Get them in
Yeah.
hockey East.
We're for it.
So it sounds like you've done announcing for football, soccer,
You name
it
it.
looks like baseball,
Yep.
hockey. Is there a favorite sport or venue that
Oh man.
you've
I mean,
announced in?
yeah, Gillette Stadium. It's just it's home. Like it really. I did okay. So I had the good fortune. I did a Bruins game once. I did a Red Sox game. Um, after Carl Bean passed away in 2012. Um, let's see here. I did the Brockton Rocks for 4 years. It's no stuff. I didn't
Lowell
talk about that.
Spinners I saw.
Lowell
I saw the little
Spinners.
spinners.
Wow,
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
that was
that was. Oh man, those people
I
are
do a few
so
Spinners
good.
games in my day. Love
Did
that.
you
three of us
really?
are from
Yeah.
Oh
Andover,
yeah.
so it's right
Yeah.
around the
Oh,
corner.
it's right on the
We
street.
grew up
Yeah,
going all the time.
the
Right in the
Lashley
valley.
Park. Just so cool. The only thing that was not cool, I'll tell you, was that the booth we were in, there was no air conditioner there. So on really hot days, it got hot. Even the press box, like walking in there, whoo, brutal. So that was really hot. But Lowell Spinners, the people there are just wonderful people who I worked with. John Boswell, John Good, Matt Steinberg, wonderful, wonderful people. Even the Brockton Rocks too. That really propelled me. The Brockton, you know who I took over for the Brockton Rocks? You got to remember John Ryder on WEI?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sounds
John
familiar.
Ryder.
Yeah, he had the job
Yep.
before me, John Ryder. So he gave it up, and there it was right there. So Brockton Rocks and
Didn't
Low Spinners.
Big Poppy's kid play on the Rocks and
He did when so yeah, I did the Rocks when they were independent league baseball. I think Poppy's kid played when they were like a collegiate league team.
okay. And they had
So
like Sheffield's kid and they had like an
yep,
all-star
Pedro's
team.
kid, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Keith Folk,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
Wow.
So, but
Rocks,
yeah,
baby.
Gillette Stadium just feels like home, though. It really does. And I just always, no matter what, big crowd, no crowd, whatever. Driving up now Route One with the construction done on the lighthouse, I still pinch myself every time I'm there. I'm like, this is amazing. Like,
Yeah,
Wait,
I was gonna lead into that. So what's your take? You've been there for what, 5 years now? I think 5 or 6
six,
years now.
yeah,
Yeah. So
6.
what's your take on the renovations that the Crafts have invested in? And it's like a brand new stadium.
It's really
Honestly.
nice. Yeah, it's beautiful. I even had the good fortune last year of hosting the NFL draft night and the draft preview party in the atrium, the GP atrium, which is just right outside of the lighthouse. And I'm telling you guys, it is so amazing. The natural sunlight coming in there too. Just the big screens. It's like, oh, if you want to watch a Super Bowl somewhere, watch it there. The big screen is amazing.
Oh,
But it's the widest outdoor screen in America too. The lighthouse is so cool, and just seeing the shot of the field. It's really it's a beautiful, beautiful place. I love Gillette Stadium. Love it.
I feel like it's really like completed the look of like the stadium and made it has felt like whole. I know
Yes.
obviously there was like a little gap there before, and
Yep.
it just seems like just a beautiful structure.
It really, yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Eric, because even looking at some old pictures like from 10 years ago, I was looking at my Facebook memories with the Patriots game when they won the AFC Championship. I was on the field covering it for BZ and all that. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the old lighthouse. That's a big difference now. And you're right, that big gap right there. It just really, yeah, it's the cherry on top, if you will.
Yeah, I think one question I got to ask you, just because you're repping Kowloon right now, and this is very important.
Yeah,
What
sure.
is your go-to Kowloon order?
Oh man, so right now I'm off Kowloon for a good about 2 to 3 months. Not because I'm on a diet. I'm back on a diet. I'm getting married in June. So
Congratulations.
you know,
Congratulations.
thank you guys, and I'm still shocked to this day that she said yes. Um, yeah, thank you. But
She's a lucky lady, let me tell you.
Yeah, hell
oh
yeah.
wow, what do I owe you guys? Do you think Venmo, PayPal? Um, it's Kowloon, man. It's so hard to talk about it when I'm on the diet right now. I love, I love the egg rolls. They're amazing. You really can't go wrong with the poo platter with the beef teriyaki stick, but a great side dish is the salt and pepper shrimp.
Mm.
Oh, amazing. I can hear Joe Murray salivating in the background right now.
I was gonna say you're lucky you got out of 98.5 when you did, because all they talk about now is food, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
Big
Yeah.
food talks.
Joe Murray's an ambassador for the local
Yeah.
cuisine
Oh, he
of
loves it.
the
Joe
restaurant.
loves
Oh
it.
my God.
He
He's
knows how to get a
great.
free meal.
Uh,
Just ask him about it.
the best is when you hear that Joe Murray's in the station, and you got the lunch drop coming or something
Oh,
like that.
that's
So
right.
yeah, he's on it.
Murray.
Gabe, actually, good next question.
Um, so we talked about Kowloon. We'll bring it back to Gillette Stadium. Do you have a favorite place to dine in Patriot Place or Gillette Stadium?
Wow. Honestly, I really don't dine there that much.
Yeah.
Because they feed us in the press box, and I really don't have a lot of time before. I can give you the situation on a game day. You got to be there. So for Patriots one especially, it's really busy. I actually host a pre-show in the field house on game day for season ticket holders, and we usually have an alumni guest. So I'll just eat right there, and then I got to go right up to my post at, if it's 1 o'clock game, no later than 12, and then start the pregame announcements, and then boom, you're into the game. So yeah, don't really eat that outside the stadium that much. When the game is over, to be honest with you, the Patriots game especially, I'm just so damn tired. I want to go home. So I don't want to, hang out. Thankfully, we have they shuttle us in so we can get out. Sorry to piss anybody off that has to wait in traffic.
You don't have to deal with the Route 1 traffic. What are you
Not
talking
anymore,
about,
yeah,
Sarge?
not anymore, baby. We're good.
That's when you know you've made it.
Well,
Seriously.
I don't have Mr. Kraft's helicopter, but we got the pass to the back route there, which is great.
You got the next best thing.
Yeah, it's not bad, not bad.
Mike, favorite press box meal?
Steak tips, Dom steak tips.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
Dom-
hell yeah. Hell yeah. The official
You
steak tip
you
of
must
the
be
New England
such a good-
Patriots. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
and Dom's a great guy. I did a voiceover for him this year. He's a great guy, his commercial. So yeah,
Their
Love
tips
Dom's.
worth
Oh.
their weight in gold. They
They're
are
unbelievable.
some
Aren't
of
they
the
great?
best
Yep.
meat I've ever had.
Oh, tremendous.
So good.
But I will say this, though. I will say this. If I am going to eat at Patriot Place, you can't go wrong with Davio's.
True.
Oh,
Steve
good stuff.
Quality.
Stevie's the man. He's a great guy.
Yeah, great guy, great restaurant in Davio's. Check out any of their locations. There's a ton of great spots in Patriot Place. I feel like it's turned over a couple
yeah.
times with the different places that have been in and out, but also very underrated. Like if you're not looking to go into Boston, but you still kind of want to have a night out, there's enough sort of nightlife things that are going on over there for
Totally.
the suburban folk, if you will, to be able to go have a good time. I did it
All day.
not too long ago with a group of guys, and we had a great time. In a centrally located for folks to get to as well. So good stuff with Gillette. Let's see. Last question here, J Matt, take it away.
Yeah, so Mike, we really appreciate you being on here with us. It's been great, some good laughs, some great insight too about where you've been in the crafts and whatnot. So where can people find you? What's your socials, and where can the people reach you?
Yeah, sure. Right on X, Twitter, at SargeVOX, Instagram there as well. What else do I know? TikTok's gone now, right? I never did TikTok anyways. But yeah, and
Briefly,
then
it decided to come back after 12 hours, but we won't get into why.
yeah, yeah. I tried it once. I never got into it. And then if you're on the Facebook route, it's funny because I actually teach now too. I'm a full-time teacher at Watertown High School, with
Cool.
Matt McCarthy, 98.5 Sports, and we work together.
Ah,
Um,
former
Oh,
guest Matt
fellow
McCarthy.
guest.
you had Matt
Yeah.
on, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we love
Okay.
that. Yeah.
He's a great guy. So Matt, my students, we'll talk about social media channels. None of the students are on Facebook. None of them. And I'm like, wow, I feel like a dinosaur. It's crazy. They love their Snapchat, they love Instagram, they are obsessed with TikTok, but they do not like Facebook. So if you really want to go the Facebook route to Facebook.com, search Mike Sarge Reilly right there. Check it out.
Love
So
it. Sarge,
pretty
really
active there.
appreciate your time. Really fun to learn about your career history and all that you've done over the course of 20 plus years in the Boston media landscape. Some great nuggets for folks that are listening that might be interested in getting into this arena. Really great advice overall. Like, keep an open mind. You never know what opportunities might present themselves, and don't be afraid to dive into things that you might not have thought of. So really appreciate it, Sarge. We hope you have a great rest of your night, and we will talk to you soon down the line. Say hello to McCarthy for us.
I will for sure. And listen, I appreciate you guys, and I love what you're doing. You guys are branding a really good show here. Keep at it what you're doing because you're making a name for yourself. And you know what? For that, I salute you.
Ah, the
Sarge,
big
Sarge
Sarge
salute.
salute.
Yeah,
Let's
okay,
go.
don't forget that.
Unbelievable.
All right.
Unbelievable. All right, Sarge. Have
Thank
a
you,
great
guys.
rest of your night. We're
Thank
gonna wrap
you.
up
Thank you so
Appreciate you
much.
guys. Take
Thank
care.
Alrighty,
you.
take
Have a
care.
good night.
Yep. Bye-bye. Okay. I'm hitting leave.
I love it.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay, sorry, yeah. I'm like, where the hell's the damn thing? All right. See you guys. Have a good night.
See ya.
See you,
See
man.
you,
Bye-bye.
Sarge.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Say, send me the link, will you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
for sure.
tag.
And-
You'll
yeah,
be in a
tag
few
me.
videos on social, and
Good.
this will go up Wednesday morning. So
Yeah,
we'll
I'll
get
repost it, all
everything
that.
out.
Yeah,
Much
sounds
appreciated.
good. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you.
Take
All
care.
right.
Appreciate
Take
you.
care.
See
Yep.
ya.
All right. Bye-bye. Leave.
Unreal. I saw.
What an interview.
What a
What
guy.
What a
guy.
legend.
He's
what
awesome.
a legend.
He really is a legend. I think a lot of people knew that he had gone on to Gillette and started to do the PA, but I really didn't know all the stops that he's had along the way with his career. Really
I mean,
fascinating.
The traffic
Such-
report thing, like that's cool. Different.
Such a great lesson in like perseverance, and like I loved when he was talking about like the sale in 2017 when the opportunity to leave. And when I think about that, just real quick, like you're on WBZ or any type of sports radio, you're just giving like little snippets and like thoughts. You're not able to inject your personality, and I think Sarge is so great, and his personality is what makes him what he is, which is why we all love listening to him on the radio. So and now love hearing him at Gillette.
Yeah, awesome time with Sarge. Really appreciate his time and for going down all the roads that he did with us. All right, let's keep this train moving with around town. We touched on the Patriots. I don't think there's too much else that's going on in Patriots or football land, and we'll have a lot to talk about obviously next week. And let's talk about the Bruins and Celtics. The week that was for both of these teams, things starting to trend a little bit up. We can start either team, doesn't really matter. Flip a coin.
Let's talk Celtics, just because I think it's not going to take forever to go through either of these teams. But Celtics on the road out west, literally like a California swing, and then a little rematch, a finals rematch with Dallas on the way back. 3-1, right? Great to avenge the loss against the Warriors that happened earlier this year in a drubbing, and they kind of had a nice little moment ignoring Steve Kerr, so always fun to see that. So that was fun. Turned that around to a nice game against the Clippers. Ended up going into overtime, but ended up dominating. Clippers, they're an interesting team this year. Terrence Mann, guy who has some local ties, also good to see him doing well. Lost to the Lakers, unfortunately, just completely laid an egg. And I know it was a back-to-back, but just unacceptable in my eyes. I know I've said I've not been worried about this team. I'm not worried about this team. That was the one game where I was like, what the hell, guys? Like, this is the team that you're supposed to beat up on. Do it for Boston. And they kind of laid an egg. And then they rounded that out with a great win at Dallas, NBA Finals rematch. Took them to task. Wasn't really that close of a game. Felt pretty good about going 3-1 on the trip. Any other takeaways from you guys?
I mean it's the middle of the season, guys. Like we are like in it right now. It's just get us to the playoffs. I think that the Celtics, the one issue that I'm a little worried about with them is I don't think they can handle bigs well. I think rebounding is a big issue with them. They give up a lot of offensive rebounds. So that's the one thing I'm a little nervous about is if they get a team that's matched up against them that has some good bigs that are versatile, that could give them a little bit of
Cleveland.
Yeah, not just Cleveland, like with AD and the Lakers, like they're very these bigs that are just dominant. They have some trouble with them. So that's one thing to keep an eye on through for the rest of the year into the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah, and we'll see what they do with that kind of as the trade deadline nears. I think there are some moves for the Celtics to make in that department. So hopefully they can pull something off. And one thing I enjoyed, I think it was Jaden Springer against the Clippers, was it?
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
He kind of had a bit of a coming out game there. He's a smaller guard, but I think the Celtics have had trouble guarding smaller guards this season, and they may have found a stud who can kind of defend the smaller guard, and also, if he's open on the three, he can knock down a few threes too. So that's kind of a bonus as well. So Jaden Springer, you can get some flowers today on the
So
podcast.
Gabe, does
He's
that
real young,
I know you're talking
22.
about the trade market. Does that lead into the potential shopping of Drew Holiday because you do have Peyton Pritchard and potentially Jaden Springer as, some good point guard depth. So what do you do there? I mean, any news on that? Anyone have any nuggets on that? I've heard they're shopping him, but I don't
There,
know what the deal is.
There's been a lot of rumors, and I think one thing to touch on as well is the ownership situation with the Celtics. Is that sort of started to come to light a little bit. Apparently, there were offers due. There's rumors today that Jeffrey Lurie is interested in making a bid. Fenway Sports Group is now selling a portion of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, are they
Yep.
looking for cash to
Boo.
to make a move? Don't want that. But to bring it back to the Drew Holiday situation, I think that a part of it is due to ownership not wanting to take on these massive contracts, the luxury tax, the second apron, all that nonsense with this team. I don't know. Drew Holiday didn't look right. I know he hit some threes, but I think that Laker game, like his shoulder was clearly bothering him. And he's been a little bit out of sorts this season. Biggie, you
Mhm.
look like
He,
you're
he
not
he's
thrilled with
been
Drew.
banged up all year. I think
Yeah,
like it's pretty apparent, and I honestly like I it may not be a bad idea to just shut him down like the week before the All-Star break. Give him like 2 weeks to kind of, or 2.5 weeks to kind of just heal up a little bit and get right. What I've heard about anything to do with any major moves with like the starting five is nothing is expected to happen until the off season, if anything. I think that this core is going to stay as the core this year. I don't really think that there's going to be any type of massive upgrade that happens. I think that they're going to keep things mostly the same. And if there's a move that's made, it's made on the margins. With that being said, I think that the team is obviously looking to improve as much as they can, but they also have a lot of these guys who came back on like pretty sweet deals because they wanted to be here. And I think that they're not keen to move some of those guys if they have to. I don't think a Luke Cornett is someone that I'm worried about them moving, but that's an example of someone who came back on, basically a minimum contract as a chance to win it. So I'm not sure what they're going to do, if anything. I'm not sure they need to do anything. I just think they need to get healthy. I think that is the biggest thing.
I like that take, Eric. I really do. I think you could even shut down Holiday for even longer than 2 weeks if you need to, because like everyone keeps saying that he was part of the three that played in over the summer in the Olympics, and he's not Tatum. He's not 27. He's 34. He's not going to recover like the younger guys. So
Yep.
if you need to rest him and you're going to have that playoff experience, which you need and you want come time for the playoffs, sit him down, rest him up. I like that take, Eric, and don't move him and get him right for when the time comes when you really need him.
It's a long season. Like you said, we're in the
right.
middle of the doldrums right now.
We'll
And
wrap
this
it
is the
up.
time of year where you have to play the Jaden Springers and you got to play Pritchard more, and you just got to give some of the bench guys more minutes and kind of go through the toughness of what the NBA schedule is.
Yeah, last season, they really were a powerhouse from start to finish. I think everybody expected, for that not it's very rare that a team is going to go back to back and go through a season like that team did last year. It was historic, and you have to look at it that way. Steph Curry said it best after the Warriors game. This team is now 32-14. We don't have too much to be upset about here. We're picking at things that they might be able to
Very.
improve on. Health at the playoffs, and I do think this team has now the ability to potentially just flip that switch and take it. Quite honestly, we know there's a level that they haven't reached that often this season, so that's there for them to still get to. And when they're clicking on all cylinders, there isn't a team in the team that can beat them. So that's what we have to hope for when we get to the playoffs. Team that starts to click cylinders a little bit more here is the Bruins, who I can't get a fucking read on this team. Every goddamn week, every goddamn game, I'm like, it's either a complete horror show or they're showing up and they're taking care of business business against teams. So, Gabe, kick us off with the Bruins, and we'll dive into the roller coaster that never seems to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bruins continue to be that roller coaster of a team. Um, you start the week last week off with a terrible loss to the New Jersey Devils. Score the first goal, but then end up forfeiting 5 goals after that, losing 5-1. Um, Swayman gets taken out for the third period. Speculation, is it injury? Is it, I don't know, something going on behind the scenes? Seems like it was more injury related. I don't think it was anything more than that. Then they go on to Ottawa, defeat Ottawa 2-0. Korpisalo got the start there. Another shutout for him. He's impressive. He looks good when he gets the call, and I don't think a lot of us were saying that when the trade was made earlier this year. I think a lot of us were, including myself, were pretty down on him. But he's had a great season. And then Bruins defeat Colorado, the Avalanche. The Avalanche, a day after making a huge deal, um, sending some real star players over to the Hurricanes and vice versa. So I don't know if they were fully, what their headspace was going into that game, because it seems like they did lose a really good player. The Bruins beat them 3-1. They're picking up points like we want them to. Maybe, we kind of wish that they could have at least got a point out of New Jersey, but
4 out of 6 ain't bad.
No.
4 out of 6 ain't bad. They're right in that wild card. Like there is a fight for that wild card, and especially the Atlantic Division. There's a fight in the Atlantic Division. I mean, Toronto looks like they may have solidified a top spot there, but I mean, Florida's right there still, and I mean, we kind of harp on them having games at hand to other teams, but they're still in the thick of that wild card race, and I think it's gonna be a hell of a race going down to the wire.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the final week of the season, honestly. I really
Yeah,
believe that.
I do too.
I think they're going to have to make a huge push. What was that fight before the Tyson Jake Paul fight? Remember we all watched it. It was like
Oh, it was the
two
women.
the women they were
Serrano, and I forget the other.
those
the
ladies,
the ladies
Oh,
fight and the
Katie
men's
Nolan,
fight.
Katie Nolan.
both of them.
No,
They
not
were
Katie Nolan, obviously.
bloodbaths. That's what the last spot is going to be
Katie
like getting
Nolan.
into the NHL playoffs. It's going to be like those fights. It's going to be like
It's gonna
it's
be
gonna
like the
be
gash
crazy.
over Serrano's eye, like that was
Every,
just gushing.
every night you're going to be looking at the standings to see who's winning, who's losing, who's getting a point, who's not. But the Bruins, they put themselves in this position. I mean, they had a really lackluster start. They went 8-9-3 under Montgomery. They had the great coaching bump. They got up to 20-14-4. And then that 6-game losing streak in the middle of January just really set them back. They were 20-19-5 at that time, and they've gone 5-2 since then. So they have put points together. Not going to scoff at that, but they put themselves in a position, and I keep saying this, where they need teams to really start losing, and it's like kind of happening. It's not really it's happening in like a little bit here and there. Maybe a team will lose one game a week, but none of these teams are going on huge losing streaks that they need. So, and on the flip, you got the Rangers that are completely flipping their season around, who is going to make a bid for one of those playoff spots. I truly think that. So it's going to be a complete bloodbath and a complete battle in March and in April and February too. So a lot of hockey left, but I think they're going to need to take care of business, which they are, but they're going to need some help along the way.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Go
Gabe.
ahead. Well, no, I was just gonna talk about Sweeney and Neely. It's like this team is making it impossible for them to figure out what the hell to do moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like in one instance they're losing games horribly, like 6-game losing streak, like you said, and now they're 5-2 or whatever
Yeah.
record you just said. So it's like it's almost impossible to figure out, put a pulse on this team, figure out what direction to move in. You have on one hand like people saying, let's trade Marchand, let's trade McAvoy, let's plan for the future, and then and then they start playing, like this. Pasta gets really hot. He's on a tear right now, and they look great. So it's just puts Sweeney and Neely in a really tough position. I do feel for them on that.
Listen, I think what J Matt said, you're hoping for other teams to drop games while you're winning games, but they got to focus on themselves, right? Like
Mhm.
they got to pick up points where they can in all of these games. The biggest thing is when they have an opportunity to close these games out like they did versus Colorado, they did that. So you need to see more of that. That was maybe one of their best games of the season to come into a third period and really take it to them that day. And so hoping to see more of that with this team as they continue on. Lots of games going on over the course of this week. We'll talk about the stretch in the Pike. Biggie, you got a closing thought on the bees?
Yeah, I don't want to give too much credit to Don Sweeney because we think he all like completely messed up the Swayman negotiation. But Olmark, he was a good player here. He is not having the year that he was having here in Ottawa, and Corpusalo has been way better than advertised. So I think that is a move that we all kind of panned in the offseason, and rightfully so. But I think that move right now is paying off dividends for the Bruins. Swayman has been, he's a little bit injured, and Corpusalo has been playing much better than I think we all expected. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I think that sometimes the moves that we gripe about and sometimes we bitch about end up being the moves that end up saving the season. So hopefully he continues to play on a tear and keeps us afloat, especially while Swayman is recovering.
To your point, though, Eric, would they have been better off just keeping Allmark, I mean, and not even doing the whole corporate solid thing and figuring that all out? Because, I mean, Allmark's having a pretty solid year. I mean, I think that's going a little bit not under the radar. It's not being talked about, but Allmark is he's really keeping the Senators in it right now. So it's almost like would they been better off with the tandem that they had last year with the whole hugging goalie tandem thing,
Good
situation
vibes.
where it
Yeah.
really was good vibes. Like it wasn't, it was kind of, it was real, but
But
something to think about.
they also picked up Casterlick and a first round pick in that
True.
deal. So you're getting a pretty good value for Olmark there.
Better than
Obviously,
good vibes.
yeah, I think that we would all love Olmark here still,
We
and
still
that
all want good vibes, but
yeah,
The
he's
the
the.
one
Did you see his kid was at the
Yeah.
game and had the
yeah.
sign and Uncle Slayman and it was that was really cute. And Olmark wasn't even playing.
Yeah, I think that the one thing though, bringing up this goalie situation and talking about Corpusalo and his play is why not give him more run? And not to say that you have to bring it back to the balance of every other game between Olmark and Swayman, but let Corpusalo play 2 games in a row and see how he plays. And if he's got a hot hand, ride it. And it's clear that Swayman could potentially benefit from a little bit of downtime if he's going through some sort of injury. So I know he's played since, but I'm okay with Corpusalo getting a little bit of run. Divvying it up a little bit more, maybe more of a 60-40 split than a 75-25 split moving forward if he's playing well. But as we know, goaltending and the hot hand in the playoffs can take you places. So really, who's ever at that point of playing at that time in April, like they'll need to go with who they need to go with. They can't just go with Swayman because he signed that deal. If Corpusalo is outplaying him, and it's clear,
Agreed.
you'll hear Bruins fans, especially as we get towards the playoffs, bring that up. So lots of fascinating things with the Bruins. It's nice. It's kind of nice to have a team that's like on the bubble, if you will, because you you,
Yeah,
you really have no fucking clue what you're going to get into
Yeah.
with them on a
It
nightly
truly is a
basis.
roller coaster.
yeah.
So we'll continue to ride
Strap
the
up.
ride. We ain't
Strap
getting
up,
off.
guys.
Arms and legs inside the car, and ears ready to go for Big E.
It's like it's like riding that Harry Potter ride at Universal, Josh.
Oh God.
You just don't know which way you're gonna go. It could go up, down, sideways, diagonal alley, diagon alley.
Ooh.
That didn't work. That's okay. Yeah, who knows? Like we are in it, so let's have fun while we can.
Yeah, let's do it. It's time for your favorite segment of the week.
It is time for my favorite segment of the week, and this is a significantly better intro than last week. It is time for Yao. Those are the things that we don't like and we think are, kind of just not great, and the things that we love. And oh yeah! Who's got any Yaos and oh yeahs this week?
I want to start off just by saying that what you said today earlier in the group chat was like, is an earthquake a yeah oh or an oh yeah?
So true.
I
That
think
had me
I
dying.
I think I
Kind of
posed
both.
that. I think I
Yeah.
posed that, and I was like, well, it might be a yeah oh right now because now the heat in the house isn't working. So I don't know if there was a disconnection or something. I thought just a big fucking like 18 wheeler just went by on Bridge Street, but I don't know. We'll see. Mrs. P is messing around. Mrs. P had a. I'll give her an oh yeah real quick as well, and then we'll get into what we
Oh
had.
yeah.
Yesterday we're sitting on the couch right before the Buffalo Kansas City game is about to start. She looks at me, she goes, "Oh, Buffalo and Kansas City. Buffalo will surely fuck this up." And I was just like, couldn't have been more right. But we'll get into the real yeah ohs and oh yeahs now. I think the first one is yeah oh, big yeah oh.
Wild.
Jimmy fucking Butler. This
Going
guy
on,
is
man?
a loser. I've been on him since all of this went down, and I don't think he realizes who he's going up against in Pat Reilly in this situation. Who, if there's anybody you don't go up against in this kind of bidding war, it's him. And now he's suspended indefinitely, has been pretty much insubordinate on the Heat. Yeah, Kevin Love is like a side comedian posting about it all. It's just a fucking clown show circus down in Miami. And I want to say this and tie it back to Boston. If he was doing this here or in another town, like a New York or like a Philadelphia, and was acting this way, the fans would literally be going to his house to pack him up and move him out of the city. So he's pretty fortunate that he's in Miami.
You guys, I don't know if you guys remember, but the year that we drafted Jaylen Brown at 3, the whole talk was that we were going to trade that to Chicago for Jimmy Butler, and I'm so happy we didn't. Think about what has transpired in that time, and I'm going to just lay this on out here. I think Jimmy has begun the superstar treatment for a long time, but there's a pattern here, and this pattern starts with, oh, I got to get out of Chicago, right? So he gets out of Chicago, goes to Minnesota, can't play with Cat, can't play with anyone else that's up there. Got to get out of there. Goes to Philly, can't mesh with Embiid, right? Has an issue in every stop. Thought landed in Miami, thought he was here, thought everything was good, copacetic. Yet again, here we go. It's him. He's the problem. Taylor Swift said it well. I'm the problem. It's me. Jimmy Butler, you're the problem. It's you.
It sure is. Anything on Butler, Gabe or J Matt?
Jimmy, yeah, it's a real terrible look for him. Like, I mean, optics on this guy are real bad. I respect Jimmy as a player. When he's fully into it and fully engaged in a game, he's one of the toughest fucking players to stop, I think. But that's the problem, is it's hard to get him engaged. He always seems to be wanting out of one place to be in another. So, yeah, the Heat have shut him down until further notice. So good luck, Jimmy Butler.
My take is I don't know if he's at the point of his career where he has like the true leverage to be doing this, honestly. Like, he's great, but is he like the Jimmy Butler of like 3 or 4 years ago even? Like,
nobody wants that
saying?
contract.
Like, yeah, like you don't have the leverage to be doing what you're doing, dude. Like,
why do you think Pat Reilly is doing what he's doing and basically saying go home? Like,
yeah.
He knows that he has the leverage. He knows that like Jimmy has to go through him to get anywhere, and all Jimmy had to do was show up, be a somewhat good soldier, and shit would have worked out. He's his own worst enemy. I'm so glad that we never traded for him and we got Jaylen Brown, and that would have been such a cluster because he would have probably been out of here in 2 or 3 years after we traded for him.
I'm sure if Jimmy handled it like a gentleman and went to Pat Reilly and said, I don't like things the way they're going and I want to be traded, and didn't do it the way he did it, I'm sure Pat Reilly would have respected him and tried to get him a trade, but I don't know if Pat really wants to do that to it for him anymore. He's put himself in this situation, so sucks for him. Sucks to suck.
He went the Shaq route, and there's a story that Shaq told in his documentary about how he was unhappy with how things were going in Miami, and pretty much was insubordinate as well. And Pat Reilly shipped his ass out of town, and Shaq showed up to the practice facility pissed off, and they pretty much had to tell him to go home. You want to know the difference between Shaq and Jimmy Butler? 4 rings. So Shaq at least had a little bit of a leg to stand on when it came to him wanting to jettison himself out of town. So
great story, Plotty.
Yeah, I mean, just like I can't believe he's doing what he's doing at his age. Hasn't won shit. Like, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. But he hasn't won. He hasn't won. And like, as you guys said, if he did this the right way and went to Pat Reilly and really, had a man-to-man sort of conversation instead of creating this whole spectacle that he has, I'm sure it would have gone differently. So that's one of the biggest yeah-ohs we might have ever had here on the show with Jimmy Butler.
And you can't say he hasn't had talent around him. He's had talent around him for a long time. Like, he's had opportunities to go far. He's been to 2 finals with the Heat. Like, the dude is, he's good, but he's not as good as he thinks he is. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jimmy.
Yeah, and he's at a stage of his career now where he's on that 17th, 18th hole, sort of looking. Maybe he's looking to retire and get off the course altogether. Who the fuck knows? So, uh, moving things along here, and yeah, oh, this is a quick one, but it came out of Providence College, where this weekend Ed Cooley returned with Georgetown, and the only time that I'll give PC any sort of inkling of wanting to root for them is when they go up against Cooley, just because I think what Cooley did is like one of the biggest yeah-ohs and Benedict Arnold things that you could ever do, and leaving literally a program that you said you never wanted to leave, grew up in Providence and just left them high and dry for more money at Georgetown. But there's this guy Matt Leb. I'll equivalent him to how JV is for URI almost. Like he's that kind of guy in the Providence college basketball world. And at the end of the game, he literally gets clotheslined by Dunkin' Donuts building security and taken down to the ground in this entire spectacle. There's videos all over social media about it. I just was like, what a situation. Yeah. Oh, PC, man. PC, they don't got their shit together down in Providence. You come on down to the Ryan Center, nice and classy. We have a big line to get in the building, but that's because there's so many people in the building.
You hear the sweet pipes of JV.
Yeah, you hear
like it's a great atmosphere.
You get yourself over to Matunic Oyster Bar, a little walk on the beach if you catch a nice day. You ain't doing that in Providence. That's all I'm saying. So a little yeah to PC and just the way that whole situation went down. And we got another one here on social media that came out. Section 10 put out a video about McCoy Stadium and sort of the abandonment of the stadium. Went down there with Loomer. It almost made me cry. Like that video and seeing Lou's reaction to McCoy in the state of disarray that I was in. Did any of you guys catch that or see any of that video? Any takeaways?
It's just sad.
Yeah, it was just sad. Like I didn't watch the whole video. I saw clips of it. But yeah, it was just really sad seeing Lou Merloni and Carabas like sitting in the dugout, just like looking out onto this field with like trash all over it, and just like what happened? Like it's just it was interesting to see that.
Quick time capsule here. We'll do the time capsule now, and then we'll wrap up. Yeah, it was any memories from McCoy Stadium going there as a kid? I feel for me, uh, McCoy was a young, like 11 to 15-year-old kind of birthday party place that kids would go if they had a summer birthday. And I do recall a couple trips down from URI to go catch a game, a cheap beer and bite to eat and a night out sometimes. So any McCoy memories for you guys?
I think
Actually,
as Andover guys,
yeah.
that was a bit of a distance for us. I think we talked a little bit earlier about with Sarge. We were big little spinners guys.
Single
A
A,
ball,
let's go,
baby.
baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hey,
Low A ball. Hey,
Look,
we used to see Kevin Youkilis there back in
Pretty
the
cool.
day. There were
I,
some
me-
players.
I remember Brett Saberhagen did a rehab stint there. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
You go up
it was
north,
cool.
you get the what is it, the Manchester Fisher Cats or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
that's the Toronto AA team. I'm gonna give an oh yeah to the little spinners. Even though I don't think they're around anymore, I'm
They're
gonna
not.
say for the memories and the time capsule. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It's sad these stadiums that are no longer. McCoy that was a staple for a lot of people in the Rhode Island, Southern Mass area. So it's a sad thing to see these old places that meant a lot to so many people. Like you said, Lou Merloni. I'm sure a lot of other Red Sox players, that went there for AAA, probably meant a lot to them. So it's sad, but things happen, and we got the Woo Sox now. Woo!
Ooh, the Woo Sox. All right, let's wrap things up here. A little bit of a, oh yeah, the fellas are getting together Friday for a little dinner, and it's been a while since we've all been in person, hanging out. So looking forward to that little time to hang out, little show development. We'll see what comes out of it. Looking forward
Maybe
to
a little Japanese barbecue action.
Ooh,
to the
sounds
kaku.
delish.
Well, we
All
could
right,
also
any
audible to the loon too. So
I
you
was
never
thinking
know.
that as soon as I saw his shirt,
Oh
I was
shit.
like,
Could go. I think that's a good idea, actually.
all right, well,
Juan Father, prepare yourself.
Wow. Look it up.
we could.
I got
We
I got
could.
one last Yao, and then we
Go
can
ahead.
move on. I think we all saw that the MLB Hall of Fame vote came on out. Ichiro got in justifiably so, but he did not get in unanimously with one lone holdout vote. What's going on, dude? Whoever you are, You suck.
Those votes need to be
Ichiro
public.
should have been unanimous.
They need to be public, those voters.
Yeah. Tony
This
Maz
is-
would have voted for him.
Of course he would have.
All
Tony
right.
Maz got his Hall of Fame
Revoked.
vote revoked. Yeah.
I got one other little, oh yeah, yeah, oh, just thought of it while we were talking about Jimmy Butler. The Starting Five documentary I think is really interesting, and I think you learn a lot about what these players are and their background and kind of their personalities. And I forgot that Jaylen Brown is being started in the starting five for this year. And I'm curious if we're going to see any of the drama or what is said to be drama that's going on with Jaylen Brown, if that will shed any light in the starting five over the summer. So just something to keep tabs on. So, oh yeah, yeah, oh, just I think the overall, I think the starting five is pretty cool, and I think it's some good insight. So we'll see.
Yeah, great show. Yeah, it would be interesting to see
Maybe
if there
that's
was
why he's
anything.
playing so shitty.
Could be.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think as he says, like I think his energy and his vibe has to sort of all be like connected and going on the same wavelengths, if you will. And he did say after that game versus Dallas, like he's sort of feeling like I really think it's just this midseason malaise and a little bit of a championship hangover that we're witnessing with this team. I don't think that there's anything that's majorly wrong. They got to get their legs. They need a little bit of a break. They're in a stretch where I think there were 16 games over 16 games over 29 days for this team. And we'll wrap it up here with the Pike because it's a perfect way to do it. They're playing every other day this week. So the game going on versus Houston right now as we record. Wednesday versus the Bulls. Friday.
I'll be on location. Wednesday night.
And
Nice.
then Friday versus
Nice.
New Orleans, which means that we do have to evaluate if there's a television at said restaurant that we go to as well for the game.
True.
And then they take on the Philly 76ers on Sunday in a primetime game on ABC. And then the Bruins alternate with them Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Buffalo, Winnipeg, and the Rangers. So
What a week.
Yeah, great week. Nothing better than when the schedule lines up that way when both teams are on their own individual night.
Love
Give
it.
all your focus to them. So we'll dive into the week that was next week. Excited for next week. A little side character that we've developed here on the Boston Sports Brothers podcast is going to make a debut. You may have seen him on the social channels. Max Erlander going to be coming on. Little Super Bowl preview with him, but also the Celtics are playing the Knicks the following week. The Bruins have 2 games against the Rangers as well, so a good time to bring them on. We'll recount some Super Bowl memories with him in the time capsule. That might be hard for us to do, but we'll get through it.
I'm not going there.
We're just talk Saquon right now. That's all we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
get right back
Yeah.
in.
There's
Just pain.
Easy.
there's a lot there. We'll make sure we steer the conversation away
The
from
pain funnel goes one way in that conversation.
any potholes or anything like that. But really excited to have Erky on. Maybe we'll get the Uncle E minute. Who knows?
Uncle E from Philadelphia is dying to get on.
Especially
Huge
this time. I mean,
Eagles fan.
Yeah, Eagles right now. He's chomping at the bits right now.
and Celtics Philly on Sunday for I think we got to get Uncle E on for.
I think we need Uncle E. We
Kinda
need
like-
to have the power of the Erics
kind
combined.
of like
Unite.
kind of like PTI. You do a good 5 minutes. We need a good 5 minutes with Uncle Lee to dive into
Yeah.
that. So Gabe, get on the ones and twos and make it happen. Hit
Absolutely.
Uncle Lee will promote the shit out of the show too. So it'll be good. We'll make sure we have him on. So Kraz should be back next week. Just a little bit under the weather today. There was nothing going on with the Red Sox, so we didn't touch on that this evening. But any updates there, we'll get to next week. Gentlemen, any parting thoughts? Anything to touch on before we wrap things
No,
up?
I just want to shout out to Mike Sarge Reilly for a great interview. He was hilarious. Such great nuggets. Just one of a kind. So really appreciate you joining us. So thank you for that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Sarge.
Huge
+1.
shout out to Sarge. I think we all have to do a little Sarge salute here to wrap things up. So without further ado, it's been a time. Peace.
Later.